Welcome back to another episode of the Rodcast. As always, we're brought to you by the guys at Daiwa. Now, Daiwa always have class-leading technology, and this time, Rothy, it's in something new that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, mate, we got a brand new range of Emeralda squid jigs, the Emeralda Shine. The first laser impact equipped squid jig is here. The Emeralda Shine LC laser impact uses mirror CLE 360 degree structure, which is optimal for achieving both brilliant shine, long flight distance, and has improved stability and performance in the water. This is something that squid guys are definitely going to have in their tackle box.
Up your squid game, get one of these on the end of your line, and let's get into the Rodcast.
Take it away, Lek.
Yeah, we are back for another episode of the Rodcast. Almost got cut off there by the king, mate. When he's in the house, he's comfortable.
When the king
Don't worry
talks,
about
you
that.
shut up.
Yeah, so we're back with one of our favourite guests, and actually two of our favourite guests. We got Captain Craig White in the house and his son Jack as well. So we're just off the back of fishing the Sovereign Blue Marlin Classic, a day and a half at sea, 2 nights on the boat. We got the king to come down here and skipper the boat for us. So
I don't think we had an option. Like, I think we needed him.
we had no idea what we were doing. But welcome down here. This is the first time in the new studio for you. One of our best guests, like I said in the past. So good to have you boys here.
Good to be here, mate. What a great studio you got. It's bloody awesome. Love it.
Yeah, welcome back. I can't even say welcome back because the last time we did one was the Emerald Room, wasn't it? But What I will say, just before we get into this, is Whitey's episode was right at the start of, you're an integral part of what we do here, mate, because it was right at the start, and your clips that I put on social media were the first that went real viral. So, mate, you have had a big impact on what we do from the very get-go. So stoked to have you back.
I would say as well, it basically gave us the confidence that what we were doing was going to work as well. We had Goat Man and we wanted to get the characters and everything, but mate, off the back of that was fucking awesome. You know, it just gave us a leg up.
Got us jazzed.
Yeah.
Because we talk about wood ducks and fishing. We are the biggest podcasting wood ducks there is.
Are you going to write that? Don't worry about that.
Thanks, mate. Every episode, Whitey, I'm sure you've listened to them. Sorry to cut you off there, Lek, but last fish you caught, both you boys, definitely wasn't a blue marlin with us. Tell you that much.
Perth,
last fish I caught was a baby giant trevally.
Baby GT.
Yeah, there you go.
Big Jack.
Last week.
Weenie up in Exmouth.
Nice. Good shit.
Beautiful.
Well, we may as well get straight into it. We've just come off the back of the Sovereign Blue Marlin Classic, an event that had so many twists and turns in it, Lek, with the weather that we had down here. Our first foray into game fishing. Where do we even start?
Well, I think we start with how big the competition turned into. It was exciting. Part of the game fishing side of things, Whitey, you would know, is the social side.
Yep.
And this competition for us ticked every box. So I think there was 310 anglers, 90 boats, and 13 different game fishing clubs or clubs represented in the comp. So for you, because like we said, we are wood ducks, how did you find this in comparison to, say, Game X and some of the other comps? You've fished this comp in the past as well, haven't you?
Not this exact one, but a comp off Rotto for Perth Game Fishing Club. So This is the first one I've done with the Fremantle Sailing Club. And unbelievable. Like the best camaraderie I've seen in a competition by far. The social aspect was just next level. I mean, who puts on free piss? Like last time I got free piss was at a wedding. Like, so good. So many people, so happy, and the way that they turned up after the event was cancelled. You know, for the long weekend through bad weather. I think they lost like 4 or 5 boats having it the next weekend, and then gained them as well. Gained an extra couple of boats. You know,
they opened it up midweek.
For the commitment that people put in to back it up the next weekend is. Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, it was, as you know, we had so much fun. It was just probably the most fun, I've had socially in a comp in West Australia without a doubt.
Yeah. You're spot on. The vibe was wicked, especially having 2 nights over at Rotto. The Friday and Saturday night were basically on the piss and free food. We had to be a little bit cautious the first night, which I think I was a little bit dusty the first day fishing, but
don't say that word. That's a swear word
dusty
in this studio. Dusty, God.
We'll bring that up in a second, but this trip as well is even more special for you because obviously Jack's come down and he's looking at a new pathway in life as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is the first comp that Jack and I we did a junior billfish years ago, but as a team, father and son coming down here to do it, it's a first for us. And, Jack's joined our team. He's left school now and decided that his new pathway is going to be working with me on the boat, which is absolutely amazing. So happy.
Unreal. The apprenticeship of a lifetime, mate.
Yeah.
How good? You pumped?
Yeah, way better than school though.
Nice. You learning a bit since you started?
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet. So you've been quite into your fishing. Obviously, you were born into it. We just heard a pretty funny story. I don't know if you want to share it or not, Whitey, but you literally got the baptism of, I wouldn't say fire, but the baptism of fish blood from what we were just told. Mate, what do you want to do? Where do you want to take this? You want to take over one day?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to take over. That's the dream.
Hold it on your tail, Whitey.
Hurry up.
Couldn't come quick enough. Like, put the feet up. Yeah.
Nice.
You got big footsteps, like we said. What have you got dreams of getting over to Costa Rica?
Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
That's the one.
That'd be sick.
That would be epic if you boys could get over there and fish that comp again. How good would that be?
Yeah, I don't know if we'd be allowed. Absolutely.
Nice. Well, let's get back to the Sovereign Blue Marlin Classic. So, total of 90 boats, Lecker. That is massive. So I think it was up from, I'm going to butcher this stat here, but it was up from something in the, I think it was high 40s, early 50 was the amount of boats that entered. This year it ended up getting a 90. That's like 128% or higher now that I think with those additional boats, 128% increase year on year. Not to get nerdy with it, but that is fucking impressive. And the bit that sort of made this whole thing and, you know, what we've done, we're trying to promote this event, really stoked me out is the amount of guys that were having a crack for the first time too. A lot of podcast listeners that came up and said g'day, guys that we knew of that were there. That really stoked me out.
And I reckon it's just confirmed, like there's obviously a lot of uncertainty at the moment with the demersal stuff and that down here, but it just shows there's a lot of punters out there that are fishermen and they'll find a way to go fishing no matter what. So hopefully, I feel like in the long run, it's going to make all the, particularly metro anglers, much better fishermen because they're going to have to pivot. They're going to have to target dollies. They're going to have to target marlin. Even at the info night, one thing that I picked up, like I've hand up, I'm fucking useless when it comes to bill fishing. So for me to be able to have the chance to fish alongside you, Whitey, was huge. I learnt heaps. But even the guys that come down to the briefings and the nights over at Rotto, they were chewing your ear off as well to try and get as many tips as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I was a bit taken back, like in a good way. I had so many people come up to us and asking questions and want some information, which I would freely give. I love giving out information, especially about bill fishing. It was quite incredible. And even outside of the comp, so many people at Rotto were coming up to us that had listened to the podcast, and they weren't even in the comp, but they knew we were going to be there. Yeah. They knew we were going to be there for the weekend, and they'd actually specifically gone to Rotto for the weekend so they could catch up. And
that was in the pub, eh? Yeah, I remember seeing someone coming up to you chewing your ear off. We were trying to get over to the meds, and you kept getting held up.
Well, it happened quite regularly both nights. It was, it was mind blowing, and just shows the power of the podcast really, and what that's doing for fishing as well.
Yeah, I mean, far out, man. It's like I said, like you came in on the second episode, and what are we now? I think this is episode 28. And we're just under a year old. So, yeah.
Would have been a fucking good way.
I don't want to blow wind up our own ass, but yeah, we're stoked with how it's going. And that kind of is the most rewarding thing for us.
Would have been a fucking good first birthday present to get a big Metro Marlin, but not to be. So
we were close.
We were, yeah. I want to ask you about that, Whitey, because we'll get into some of the fishing stuff now. It's like we were fishing aboard the Freo Sailing Club boat, which was like they use it for sailing and all that sort of stuff, but they sort of half jimmied it into a bit of a game fishing boat for us this weekend. I'll get your thoughts on what sort of setup we were running. But your prep work coming down here, because obviously you're going to come down here and skipper the boat for us.
Yep.
What was your take on the conditions and off Perth at the moment? Like, how was the bill fishing looking for you? Were you confident? And this is going to lead into something that you showed me on one of these nights. But talk us through your prep work coming down here.
Yeah, so I was just basically studying the charts, the oceanographic charts. So watching water currents coming down, water temps, temp breaks, chlorophyll.
What's chlorophyll?
Chlorophyll's like nutrients in the water.
Yep.
So you can get satellite or you can get imagery that'll show you where there's heavy layers of chlorophyll and lighter layers. So basically, I guess it's green water and blue water to a degree. But there are some certain numbers of chlorophyll that you can look out for. I'm not going to give you those numbers off the top of my head. I'm still trying to work them exactly out, but there's a range of chlorophyll that seems to attract fish. I I'm working on a few things that can overlay that. It's something I'm going to look into. I look into it daily. But the big ones are temp breaks and currents. So most of the Blue Marlin seem to feed on the edge of a fairly fast flowing current where it meets a slower current. And usually the faster current has that warmer or colder water in it. So there's a temp break there, which stacks the bait up. So I was studying those hard. And if you can get all that to line up with some ground as well, at the edge of a wall or a canyon wall or something like that, even better. And so I kept watching that each day until I was confident that I'll bang a mark on my phone, on my charts. The big blue star. That's where we're heading, boys. And I showed Lecker the night before. I said, this is my plan. This is where I reckon we're going to go. And basically told him why. And he just sort of looked at me sideways, had another beer, and off we went.
Yeah. So before we move on to the fishing, that night was epic. So it started with, we arrived at Rotto and we hear these speakers blaring, and it's like this country blues music, and we're going, fuck, getting closer. And we look over, and Tommy and Dusty Miller, 2-speed Tommy, and it was my first I'd met Dusty on the briefing night a week before, but I'd heard stories, and my God, did he blow me out of the water. Mate, that guy is a walking, talking cyclone. Like he rolled up, and of course we talk about the social side and the good times, and where do I even start with that, man? Like I've never laughed so much in my life, I reckon, in that short amount of time.
And you're talking about him rocking up in his boat, not walking up to us. That was his boat. We could hear coming.
It was like the Pirates of the Caribbean intro where Johnny Depp comes in and he's on like the top of the sail as the boat's sinking, and they just step off onto the fucking boat, and they're like, get up, you bastards. No time for sleeping. And like we said, we'd heard like, oh, you got to watch out for Tommy and Dusty on day one. And everything we heard about it was spot on.
Key point here, they've got a centre console. I think it's a 28 contender. And they needed somewhere to crash. Last year, they crashed on the lawn at Frere Sailing Club. And as soon as Tommy heard that we were on the cray boat with plenty of deck space, he goes, all right, well, looks like we're rolling the swags out with you. He did not need a swag all weekend. Neither of those boys did, because they hardly slept. Far out. Good times, I'll tell you that much.
Dusty pulled the sheepdog out at about 1 a.m. That's when I knew we were in trouble. I was like, I'm trying to get some sleep.
You were sleeping. I was still getting all the camera gear ready with our filmer, Zach, for the next day. And I saw him come aboard, and he literally pulled you out of your swag.
Yeah, we ended up having a little bit of a wrestle there for a bit, but they committed me up to about another 2 hours. Yeah. But the sheepdog, I blame you for, Whitey, because he was telling the story. You go ahead.
What is the story behind the sheepdog?
Yeah, well, they run out of piss one day in GameX, and I think it might have even been on the way in. I think fishing was over for the day, and they were desperate. They were needed something, so all we had on board was a bottle of sheepdog, which we take every fishing trip. Peanut whiskey.
Peanut whiskey.
You could have it on ice cream. Yeah, it's so
pretty nice.
Good gear. Right. Every boat should have it. Keep it on ice, so it's much better cold. Yeah, so we've given Dusty half a bottle or something of this sheepdog, which is consequently they've nailed that by the time in the next 15 minutes it took them to get in, and it's been tradition ever since. It's either he gives it to me or I give it to him, but he's been giving it to me a bit more often lately.
Yeah, because he stopped the whole boat and he made us all listen to this speech about the sheepdog. Pretty fun. I got it on film too. I overlaid a bit of B-roll on it.
I reckon Tommy was up and about though, because probably one of the highlights of the Friday night, the dinner before we started fishing, was he actually threw up a couple of his lures at auction.
Yeah.
So
one of them, Aussie Day Bender and a bright green Ego Buster.
Yeah. So and he was going to donate the proceedings to the bar the next night, and I think the Aussie Day Bender went for $1,200. And then the Ego Buster went for almost $2,500.
Yeah, $2,400.
Yeah.
So, how much are those lures at retail? Like you can buy them off the shelf.
$30. 70 maybe for the Ego Buster.
Yeah.
Well, he was pretty funny the way he introed it. He was like, "Yep, these are designed in Bunbury." And
they're made in China
with every fucking thing else.
Yeah. So, but one thing he did say that I thought was pretty cool. He's like, this weekend's got nothing to do with the fishing. It's about the people that you do it with. And I think he was 100% right, for sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, we woke up feeling a little bit dusty the next day, and then it was sort of led into a big part of the comp, Whitey. You've been involved in a few shotgun starts in your time.
Yeah.
Where does this one where does this one, talk us through what a shotgun start is as well, and where does this one rank for you?
Yeah, so shotgun start is all the boats gather at a particular point. And in this case, it was Phillip Rock, just out the front of Thompson Bay at Rotto. So all 90 boats gather behind, I think it's the club president's boat.
Yep.
And all sitting there waiting. So there's 90 boats, like the flotilla, like the Spanish Armada, sitting there, engines running, ready to go. And then, basically 7 o'clock, the shotgun goes off. I don't know if there was a shotgun. I didn't hear one, but there's supposed to be.
That's what I was wondering.
Pretty sure there is. So, the shotgun goes off and it's just fucking hammers down like smoke on the water.
Wait, that was, for me, it blew me away. It was epic. Yeah. You could see all the boys that thought, nah, I'm not losing, because they all sort of congregated. Tommy was right in amongst them as well.
Yeah, there was a bit of shit talking leading up to that. So it was Brett from West Coast Soul aboard Send and Ben. There was the boys on that big Accent Marine, that big blue thing, that weapon. Tommy, obviously, 2-speed Tommy, he wins every shotgun start. He was up the front. And then who else was there? There was a sleeper
Send and Ben.
boat.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah, they were there. Anyway, they were all at the front ready to go. And did you see that footage that Brett from West Coast Salt put up, Skip?
Yeah.
Mental, but Tommy absolutely left everybody in the dust. And then he ended up hitting a wave, I heard, or something like that. And
Sniper. Sniper was the other boat at the front. So Rainer. So I think if you watch the drone footage, Tommy was out in front by a good 100 metres pretty quickly, because he's got a contender. So they'd be a fair bit lighter than everyone else.
Yeah, agile too.
Just straight on the plane, bang.
Yeah, 600 horsepower at the back.
Yeah.
So
50 knots. Fucking where we go.
Bear in mind, poor old Dusty, I don't know how old Dusty would be, but he'd be pushing 70. Yeah. And he's coming off the back of a big night, strapped into a fucking beanbag on this
up the
bow. And like literally this thing's launching out of the air. And I think what happened off the shotgun, so Tommy took the lead. This is the biggest wood duck moment of the 100%. Weekend. So, and he probably doesn't want us talking about it, but too bad, Tommy. You fucking stirred us up all weekend. So, He, so I think him and Rainer have sort of head out off there, but probably about they reckon 8 or 9 nautical miles from where the shotgun start was. They're still going 48. 47 knots, both of them side by side.
It's not calm.
No, it was pretty filthy, where they're getting out there. And Rainer's in a 27-foot Veach, and that thing's real capable, probably a bit more comfortable than the contender at that speed. It's sort of, I would say it rides maybe a little bit better, but Tommy's, he can hold that pace. And I was talking to Rainer about it, and Sam Colvin, who was on the contender with Tommy, and Rainer reckons he could just see everyone standing up, and then it sort of bounced, turned a little bit sideways and gripped, and then he just said they saw everyone disappear. and Sammy Colvin was on the boat, and he looked at me and he goes, mate, that was the most fucked thing I've ever been part of. I've torn my hamstring that bad. So he
he actually tear his hamstring?
He's torn his hamstring. Dusty went from the bow to the stern.
Yep. Hitting his head on the way through.
Hit his head on the way through. So he's rocked up at the end of the day with blood pouring out of his ear.
It looked like he had gangrene in his ear because the blood had dried black.
And his ear was twice the size. His right ear was twice the size of his left ear.
Well, he must be the toughest old bastard.
We can't forget Will, who was on the boat with him. So Will was actually going to film for us for the weekend. Anyway, didn't eventuate. But he got smoked as well. He reckons he was a foot away from getting a gaff through the chest.
Yeah, so he almost copped a gaff as well, and somehow Tommy was the only one that didn't get injured. He hung onto the steering wheel, but anyway, they picked himself off and dusted himself off and kept fishing. Mate, I was just amazed by that Dusty, knocking it. He's probably concussed, but
imagine trying to get in a bar fight with that bloke back in the day.
I would not. You wouldn't.
You could hit him as hard as you want, and he just would not go down that tough bastard.
Yeah.
But I thought the shotgun start would end probably maybe after a K. You'd back off.
Yeah, 10 Ks. Mind you, they were
a whole shot.
They were 10 mile out still race, and we were only 100 metres off the start from that stage.
How fast were we going in this big success?
We got up to 17, but I wasn't allowed to put it. Hammers, there was rules.
So you had the full induction and everything. So this probably leads into what we mentioned before as well. So the Blue Star. So this for me confirmed the reason why we wanted to get you down here and sort of lead us fishing is to give us the best chance to get onto a Metro Marlin.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think everyone in the club loved having you down here as well because you have got the World Championship and everything under your belt. But I sort of took note of it and thought, oh, yeah, beautiful. And you can tell us exactly, again, why you picked this spot. But it was on your charts. And then we basically fished from the Fads and sort of headed northwest, really, towards this mark that you had on the charts. And there was a few boats that ended up fishing around us, whether they were out there because of us or not. They'd sort of seen it themselves. I'm not sure. But there was a boat right alongside us.
Followed us behind us.
Yeah, they were behind us.
Yeah, they admitted they followed us out.
Did they?
Yeah, they admitted they followed us out because they didn't know where to go.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, so they sat behind us, about a mile back behind us and just zigzagged around behind us.
Yeah, and was part of that like with a bigger boat like we had, is there a chance that sort of raises the fish up in that as well? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Like there is that field of thought for sure. Like the big diesels, they reckon the low frequency noise can definitely
harmonics.
Yeah. Like over in Costa Rica, I was getting a little bit sidetracked, but a lot of they reckon the wooden boats over there are better. Wooden diesels are the fish raisers rather than the aluminium or the fiberglass boats.
Yeah, right. Different sound wave.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big in Costa Rica. They're big about not so much the speed you're trolling at, it's the rev range.
Yeah, okay.
It's all about the sound.
Trying to get the sound and everything.
Yeah.
Going like yeah, right.
Yeah.
So tell us, before we go into what we heard over the radio alongside us, speed, spread, all that sort of stuff that we had out there. What were we running?
We were running a 4-lure spread. We had all current line lures out there from Tommy. He'd donated them for us. Obviously, me and Jack flew down with a backpack, so we didn't bring any gear down. So Tommy was kind enough to donate some lures and actually lend us rods and everything. So fantastic effort.
We did have some Bill Mark lures as well that we didn't get the chance to throw out.
Yep.
Cole Fieldhouse.
Some beautiful new Bill Mark lures that I'll get to have a try on up in Exmouth. So we basically run the big Ego Buster in close where it lives, and then we had two on the long riggers and one on the long corner. We tried. We would have run a couple of dredges as well, but they didn't quite fit in the dredge holders. Things are a little bit agricultural on the setup side.
Well, success is the first time it's been used as a fishing boat, really, or game fishing boat. So we did. There's some kinks that need ironing out. So, like you said, we were handicapped because the rod holders wouldn't even fit the 80 wides and that in it. We sort of had to move things around. Yeah, that's why we didn't get a fish.
Yeah, no, of course it was. Absolutely.
It wasn't our fault.
No, definitely not. That was the boat's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, none of us had an opportunity to get on the boat and sort anything out prior to, the day before the comp. So we're pretty lucky to even have a boat and do what we did, which, we had a crack. The outriggers needed re-rigging on the way out, and we snapped one of those fairly early on in the day through no fault of anybody's. It just snapped, and
an old set of outriggers.
Yeah, just an old set of outriggers, sort of agriculturally rigged up, and they're going to work on success, and they reckon they're going to keep it rolling for this kind of thing in the future, and they're open to some suggestions. The Fremantle Sailing Club want to get it up and running as a vessel that can be used for that kind of stuff. So that was basically the spread. We were running 80 wides with 37 kilo line on them. We were running, I think, 8.5 metre leaders and just a double with a clip on, a bit different to a lot of people run wind on leaders, but we were just doing it a little bit different. And
is there a theory behind that, or it's just what we?
You just get a bit more actual line on the reel, so you can. The reels have got braid on them, and then they're top shotted with mono. So you can have a couple 100 metres of mono on top rather than having the whole reel full of mono.
Yep.
A couple of reasons for that is you get more line on because of the braid factor. You can load it right up with braid. And then at the end of each season, or if you need to change out your mono, you're only changing out 100 metres or 200 metres. You're not having to dump the whole spool, and there's line on the bottom of that reel that's never seen daylight. So
yep. And you need a lot of line because we were fishing in. How deep was it where we were fishing?
The deepest we went was probably 1,700 metres.
Yeah, right.
1,700.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't realise that. Eh?
1.7 kilometres deep.
Yeah.
So back on this mark.
Yep.
Because I don't know if it's possible to go up any further in my book, but we were out basically exactly where you would put this mark on the chart, and then we hear over the radio, or you heard over the radio upstairs. What went on?
Double hook up, and we're going, yeah, bullshit. Yeah, someone just, no one had called in a fish or hooked up or anything, and yeah, bait ball, double hook up. We're going, what the fuck's even bait ball? Like,
yeah, we didn't know who these boys were.
What is this? So he kind of ignored it, and then the radio chatter sort of carried on a bit, after that for a bit, like, oh, hang on a sec, there's a boat called Bait Ball, and they fucking actually are hooked up with a double on blues, like, and we're going far out. And then, anyway, they're fighting, I don't know, must have been 45 minutes or something like that they're carrying on for, and they've still got this double on, and we're sort of, they're sort of howling a bit because they've only got one harness. So they're hooked up to 2 marlin with only one harness. So one of the boys is getting black balls real quick.
Because you have to take it out of the rod holder straight away as well. That's part of the rules.
Yeah, you can't fight the fish in a rod holder. So you can't be assisted in any way other than by you holding it on or it harnessed to your body, unless you're in a chair. That's a different story. But so we're hearing this chatter over the radio, and they're screaming out for a second harness. If anyone's close by, they can they drop them off a harness. So
we were the closest, weren't we?
Yeah, well, no one responded on the first round. Everyone, the radio just went silent, like crickets in the fucking background.
You're on your own, boys.
Yeah, you're on your own, boys. And then, then they sort of arced up again about half an hour later, and I sort of thought, oh, look, I'll find out where they are. And so we had no idea it was this little boat that had followed us out.
Yeah.
And so they called back the quadrant. So the Fremantle Sailing Club gives you a quadrant. I think it's 5 mile square quadrant.
Yeah, it's a grid basically of where you can fish, and then it's broken up in a quadrant, so you can say a rough location of where you are instead of your exact.
When you call your fish in, you give the quadrant rather than a GPS location. So they called the quadrant, and I went, "Fuck, that's where we are. Like, we're in that quadrant." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, send us a lat and long if you're close. Oh, we've got a spare harness. We'll drop one over to you." And
we didn't have a spare. I just corrected that. Lek was actually wearing the harness at the time. So we agreed that Lek would take the first fish because I wanted to film and get in the water with the housing and get a photo and whatnot. So I was like, all right, I'll take the second fish if we get one. Lek had one ready to go. And we actually looked at each other to start with, and we were like, too bad, boys. Like, we're trying to get a marlin here. But then as we kind of sat on it, we thought about it. We're like, you know what? Let's go and do the right thing. Let's go and give him a harness. So,
I thought we had a spare harness, and we got, when I put in their location, they were only like a mile away from us, and then I could see them. I was like, oh, that's them over there. And then we're halfway over, and the boy said, we haven't got a second harness.
Yeah, you sent me looking for a harness, and I went down and looked in Tommy's spare bag and everything, and thought I found one, and then I went upstairs and looked at you. I was like, there's no spares.
There's no spares. So, and we'd told these boys we're coming over to give them a harness, and we had, like Rothy said, we had a bit of a team meeting then pretty quickly, and said, well, far out, boys, they're on a double like that.
I would have felt fucking horrendous driving around nearby with them with a harness wrapped around my waist, knowing there's a bloke there trying to fight a fish without it. And plus, you could tell how stoked these boys were to be onto a fish. Yeah. And for us, it wasn't looking that likely as well. Like, I know there was fish in the area and they hooked up, but there was coral spawn and stuff everywhere.
Yeah. And at that time, we were in a big stream of brown poo that was like, no fish were going to come out of that. And
So it was a pretty quick decision. Like, I remember looking at you and you were like, well, like, your call sort of thing. And then when we agreed, it was like, no, fuck. Like, there was never really any second thought. It was like, let's go over there and give it to them and we'll watch them.
Helps some mates out.
And you were like, yeah, no, that's the right call. So when we rocked up, the relief on old mate's face, he was fighting with a fucking pillow between his legs.
Yeah. Fuck. I never seen anything like it. Yeah. Fuck, he was doubled over like fucking.
And the fish were how deep were the fish as well?
The fish was sitting at about 600 metres down. Yeah, both of them. Yeah. So he was broken. He was fucking broken.
Pretty funny. Like, he literally he looked bow-legged. You could tell he was bow-legged from where we were standing. He was bent over like full hunchback of Notre Dame, trying to protect his balls with that pillow like you'd see the pillow puffed out the back of his legs because the rod, so much pressure on the rod. He had it leaning over the gunnel too.
Yeah, he was struggling big time. And I remember once we handed the harness over, I was like, fuck, don't give it back to me. That looks like torture. I don't want to catch one of those things. Anyway, they wrapped up and put the drag up on one of them. It was the bloke that was fighting it with the pillow between his legs. I forget his name, but
I think it was Nick.
Nick, was
so
it?
It was Chris and Nick Wheeler on bait ball, two brothers. They've been trying to get I'll give a bit of a backstory. I've actually got his number. We're going to give him a call, but he told us that he'd pretty much been trying for a blue for the last 2 years everywhere from Perth to Jurien, and he'd never caught one. So he'd put in the miles. He'd had a crack, but this was his very first blue that he hooked.
Yep. And anyway,
meaningful one.
Exactly. And he snapped off not long into that fight, or probably 45 minutes to an hour after we were sort of sitting there watching him.
Yep.
And I think it was Chris was still hooked up.
Yeah.
And from that, we grabbed our harness back after that and thought, well, we've probably got another 2 hours of trawling. So keep in mind, this all happened at about midday.
Yeah,
I think there was
a bit
about
later. Yeah.
It was about when they hooked up. We were there past the harness. I looked at the watch at 2:00.
Yep.
We got our harness back at 3:00.
Yep.
And then Chris is still hooked up and barely had budged the fish. And you gave him a couple of tips when we were leaving, Whitey, but they didn't land that fish until 5:45.
Yep.
So he's fought that fish for near on 6 hours to get it up, which is a massive effort. But there was a couple of tips that you gave him, which I reckon for our listeners, anyone who's into, just got into marlin fishing, which I didn't even realize, like that when a fish is that deep, what's it doing?
Well, if it hasn't died, it's and it's swimming into the current, then it's a bit like an aeroplane. It's creating lift against the current, so it can really fight and cause
it's like oxygen going through its gills as well if it's alive down there or not. With the current going,
but more the physics.
Yep.
Of how an aeroplane lifts off, it flies into the wind, and it's got takeoff.
Yep.
So the fish can bite you harder. So if you can get them down current, turn them. But usually, if you do circles on a fish when they're that deep, you'll find a spot that can create. They start to come up, and you drive off them and plane them up a bit, and then you've got to reverse back, get the slack line back, and then try it again. It's just a process of elimination, but you can't just sit on top of them.
So you told them to try and turn the head and get it going with the current. That's the key.
Yep.
Yeah, and it planes the fish up.
Yep.
And you spoke to them that night when they come in. Is that?
Yep.
We're going to call them, are we, Rothy, as well?
Let's give him a buzz,
get them.
We'll tell the story. He'll probably tell us a complete different side of events. He'll be like, no, we didn't follow him. We got.
This is Nick anyway. I'm going to have to hold it right next to the microphone.
Rothy.
Big Nick, how are you, mate? We are mid-recording, dude, and we want to hear all about this marlin that you boys got on board.
Hey, Nick, how are you, mate? It's Lecker here.
How you going, guys?
We got Whitey and Jack here too.
What's that?
Patch and Chris.
Yeah, have you figured out a way to do it?
Yeah.
Give it a crack.
I'll set him quickly now.
Yeah, dial him in. Hold it near the microphone, that way you're central to Whitey and we can all chime in. Fuck, you boys would still be frothing, wouldn't you? No, we're on hold.
Yeah, this, as you can tell, we're...
That's all right. We'll cut through this. Did that work?
I think it worked.
Yeah, the boys are here.
Yeah, we're rattled. We're a bit torched, but...
You sound like you just woken up from a nap. So how are you feeling, lads? You just landed your first marlin as a team. Give us a rundown. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I think Chris is pretty sore. He can probably run through sort of the pain he went through, but I guess the build-up for us was pretty long. Like it was, our boat was out of action for most of 2025 just due to like putting all the electronics and updating the dash and autopilot and everything. So we missed a pretty hot bite last year and then missed all the action in the canyon. So we're pretty keen to give it a crack this year and couldn't imagine how it was going to pan out. Like in the lead up, you sort of plan things in your mind and you always think you're just going to hook one fish and you know what you're going to do with that. But when you have double header of Metro Blues, it was chaos.
So talk us through the bite because that's one thing we sort of heard secondhand once you guys came in, but what happened? Like double hookup, fuck, you must have been losing your mind.
Yeah, I mean, all morning ran through with the boys, like what's going to be the plan, who's grabbing what rod, who's clearing which line. I was always going to jump on the dredge and electric reel. I think, Chris, you were down the front at think when we hooked up.
Yeah, I was down in the cabin just dozing off after I yacked my
It was pretty nautical out there.
Yeah,
eh?
sounds like what we were doing. I was watching the back of my eyelids most of the day as well.
Yeah, so hungover, just like, just wasn't focused at all.
But yeah, it was just sort of like a bit of a lull, and we're like, we're just going to hang around this area. And then next thing, short corner just went berserk. And I started screaming. God knows what I was saying. But that went off. And then everybody, despite the plan, just went into chaos. Everyone was grabbing different rods. Josh was on the dredge. I was just kept the boat in autopilot. And, the first blue that hooked up just went berserk and started charging the boat. And then I ripped the dredge. As I was ripping the dredge in, another fish just came boosting past it. I was like, another marlin. And then as one of the other lads was winding in the left rigger, he turns to me and says, Nick, is this normal? And his line just starts peeling. And
so he hooked up when he was winding it in?
Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
Next thing we know, he's got these two fish jumping off the back of the boat.
Mate, and just...
But even before that, so yeah, it goes nuts. Nick obviously is bringing that dredge in, 1 marlin, 2 and 3, and he's trying to rip the right rigger out, and he was so fucking excited. As he ripped it, as hard as he could, he smacked me in the head with the rod flat. Hold on, survivor. I'm like, hey, calm down.
Mate, how good is that?
Did I read something about a third fish going for some of your lures or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, the third fish was the one that come up on the dredge.
No way. Holy shit.
So there was, you saw more marlin than pretty much 89 other boats for the whole weekend in one little hot session.
Oh, in 30, 40 seconds.
So up until this point, lads, up until this point, what's been your experience with actually seeing marlin and hooking them?
I've been fortunate enough to hook one blue Acarotto, but we lost it probably within 3 minutes.
Yep. And Chris, you hadn't caught one yet, had you? You'd been trying for a long time.
I hadn't caught one. Yeah, we've been putting quite a few hours in, and we did the WA Open 2024, and we've gone out during a few times, Acarotto a few times. The best we got was we raised one at the WA Open, had a knockdown, and then we went Acarotto again, and then our the wire on the lure snapped on the short corner. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, right.
That same lure that I got mine on. Yeah, we hooked it, and then it just snapped straight away.
Gotcha.
So apart from that, that was it. I saw a bill at the WA Open, but never been on a boat that's caught a marlin before. Never been on a boat that's leaded it. So it was pretty nerve-wracking for me.
So you guys thought, I've said this already prior to calling you boys, I've used this phrase, but baptism of fire. You guys literally got thrown in the deep end first shot.
Yeah, the deepest end.
Yeah.
And got deeper.
Yeah. So who was the poor bastard that was fighting without the harness?
Yeah, that was Vincent Ciccarelli's first time ever coming game fishing.
I don't reckon he's going to go again, eh?
Oh, fair to him, but it did look like that.
Armour out at the back of it.
So how long did he fight it, and who's thrown him the pillow after how long?
Oh, mate, it was all a blur, but I don't know. He was on it for about probably 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
No way. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what I was saying on the radio, but I think I was asking for some sort of assistance because we had one fish going one way, the other fish going the other way.
Yeah, we thought you were full of shit.
24 kilos.
We'd never heard of you either, lads. So we were like, who's on bait ball? Like, we had no idea who you were. We thought, who are these sleepers that have just come out of nowhere about to win the comp?
I reckon I met Chris at the briefing. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I know who's on there. I know who, yeah. So it was, but it confirmed it. Yeah. So, and when we got over there, you'd been on it for a couple of hours. We should have just got the rod off yard, not worried about that. Separate the fish.
When you guys were coming up, I was like, if it wasn't in the comp right now, we'd be throwing one of them and getting these fish
chuck them on board.
It was in that moment where it was just like almost too good to be true. So we thought we'd try and, get them both up. It's in comp, so you just try your best.
That's a lekker move, mate. He's not speaking for all of us there. That's something that he would do. Did
Whitey end up showing you the mark that he had pinpointed on the charts as to where you guys had ended up hooking up that night?
No.
Yeah, so Whitey put a mark on his charts before he came down. He showed me the night before, and it was basically exactly where you guys had hooked up. He goes, I reckon this is going to be the hot spot. And so for me,
I was fucking devoed with it.
These cunts.
That was wild.
I couldn't fucking believe it.
We turned around. I think we started heading a bit south, and we were like, "Oh, it just doesn't seem fishy. This is just weird. Like we can't get out of this mud." And probably 10 minutes later, just blew it up.
That was loose.
Yeah, we had a set plan. Like we looked at the charts the night before. Could see where warmer water was, and we just like, no, we're just going to steam out there. And then I think at some point, I was zigzagging behind you guys, hoping you guys would raise.
There we go. There's the truth.
Clearly we did.
Yeah. So it's all about fish, really. We should have been there for the photo.
When I asked you for that, Mark,
I'll never forget you guys coming over. That's like, I think it just rams home how good the community is, and
that's what it's all about.
At the mez, I was pretty blind by that stage, but no one would come and help another bloke catch a Dewey, but you guys steaming across and helping out's pretty memorable.
Oh mate, it was a highlight of our weekend as well. I want to ask you, because you would have been a big night that night, did you end up fishing the next day?
We did. A lot of apprehension, a bit of a slows morning. We filled up, headed around the corner and started punching out, and it was a little bit rough for us in Caribbean 2400, but we just ventured out, made it like you guys, team decision, went to the sort of tuna grounds in about 150 and had a bit of a play around. Had one stripey go line class, but we weren't brave enough to go all the way.
I think a lot of boats headed in that day on Sunday. So even Tommy managed to beat us back.
Like the last con we did, there was only a couple of boats out there and we pushed it, but we were just so hung and we were just like, nah, not worth it.
It was well earned, I reckon, hangover, mate. So, we got the awards night tonight, so we'll catch you guys at the awards. Unfortunately for you guys, you won't be getting on stage because your leader was just a touch long.
Yeah,
so you got
DQ.
But that doesn't matter, man. And we had the same conversation on our boat because we actually forgot the tags. So it was
we were never going to win anyway. That was the wood duck moment. Yeah, that was the biggest wood duck moment. So that was part of the conversation, giving you guys our harness in the end. It was like, well,
didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, if we hook one anyway, it's not going to matter. So these guys have a chance of winning. May as well give them our harness.
You're the first people we told about the tags too. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're stoked for you, lads. I remember watching you walk in. I saw Chris, and I remember you were fighting that fish with no shirt on. And fuck, mate, your skin colour definitely showed that you weren't wearing any sun protection because you were cherry red when you walked in. I remember trying to give you a high five, and you were that sapped of energy, you completely missed my hand. So, good effort, lads. We're stoked for you.
Cheers, lads.
All right, boys, we're going to let you go, get back into this potty, and we'll see you tonight.
Yeah, we'll see you tonight.
It was
there, fellas. Catch ya.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Crack up.
Yeah, that's wicked. That is what it's all about.
He was so fried when he walked into that social event on the Saturday. Like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody that burnt. And the funny thing was the whites of his eyes weren't even white anymore. They were just red, like bloodshot red.
That was from the Kraken. See him necking straight Kraken while he was hooked up. Passing the fucking bottle around while he was, after he'd been on it for 4 hours, he'd have some more Kraken.
I got some good footage of those boys. I'll have to get it to them. But
that, like we said with the social side of things and that, and I guess it's bill fishing in general. Like it's like the way I put it is it's shit until it's not. Like it's fucking boring. But then when something like that obviously happens, the excitement and everything like that lifts everything. And seeing those boys walk in that night, a lot of people were all cooked as well and had trawled a lot of miles and hadn't really hooked up or anything. We're all sitting around having a feed. But when they walked in, like it was the vibe
just
lifted.
Lifts, straight away. Yeah,
it's wicked.
Yeah. It only takes one boat, and you know that how much fun they had and how excited they were. Especially
Chris said it was the best day of his life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so cool.
Have you ever
I got goosebumps thinking about it.
How often do you get double hookups on blues?
On blues, not hugely often. They can hunt sort of in packs and that, but it's not something that you'd expect to happen very often.
Especially Metro, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about stripes and sails?
Yeah, stripes can be more of a pack hunter. They definitely hang around more together.
Yeah,
hitting the bait balls and that. And sails, that's very common to get multiple hookups on sails.
Yeah, okay.
But billfish not as
in a
common.
Haystack, pretty rare. What they got to
off Rotto, Well, I mean, three. They nearly had three hooked up.
Yeah,
they nearly had a triple off the back of Rotto. So.
And what are the best thing that could have happened is probably them snapping off on one, eh?
Yeah, luckily they only snapped one off because they could have lost them both. If those lines had tangled or crossed over or whatever, then they might not have ended up with any.
Gone.
So yeah.
So there was
one was on 24 too. One was on 24, one was on 37. So the 24 was the one that snapped.
And you can't. You're limited to drive to try and plane the fish up when there's two on because anything you do is going to twist those lines.
Yeah, you couldn't have started driving.
Yeah, so it makes it when they go
That's
two to go deep. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, and so there was a couple of other fish caught. So I think in total over the comp there was 25 fish raised. Let me get this right. So hang on a second.
Yeah, 25, 15 and 6. So 25 raised, 15 hooked and 6 tagged or landed.
Yep. So, and there was only 2 on the first day. Winora was the other one. And they are running, they've got some sort of sonar or something.
Omni sonar, yeah.
Omni. Yep. So in terms of technology, that's probably some of the best technology you can get.
Best game fishing technology going around at the moment.
What does that do?
So it's a underwater radar.
So basically, like you've got a radar on your boat, which will tell you there's a boat a kilometre over there.
It's a radar on your hull, basically.
So they can see the marlin and basically chase down the fish.
To the best of my knowledge, it's got a 900-metre range.
Yeah, wow.
Right. So nearly a kilometre range. And I presume it's a cone, so it would go. It would be down at I'm not sure how deep it pans as well, but from the surface down to a certain depth, it'll do 360-degree rotations. Giving you a picture of bait and bait schools and individual fish.
And you can track a fish as well.
Yeah.
So you can hit a mark and follow the fish around.
Yeah. And if you've got that connected to your electronics, to your autopilot and likes, then it probably just literally pretty targets and bang away if you can work that shit out.
Yeah. Well, that would be the other thing. I think so the reason I mentioned Winora is because we have got the awards night tonight. So this is going to come out after the awards night, Rothy, but they ended up taking out the competition. So I think on account back from Saratoga, who caught a couple of marlin the next day.
Yep. So they got 2.
They got 2 as well.
Yep.
Which was a good effort because it was pretty rough that day as well. I remember seeing them hooked up early.
Yep.
I think I've got it written down here. Saratoga got 2 fish on 37 kilo. Winora got 1 on 24 and 1 on 60.
Yep.
And they caught the first fish of the day. So they took out the champion boat.
Yep. Yeah, well done. Yeah,
well done, lads. That's epic.
Tim Carter on that boat, eh?
Yeah, I think it was Tim Carter from Halco that hooked that first fish.
Yep, they won the heavy tackle comp in Exmouth in December as well.
Yeah, so I'm hearing whispers, not to throw any shade on it, but I'm hearing whispers that they were saying they don't know how to use this Omni sonar.
I think they might have been throwing a couple of smoke screens going, oh yeah, we've got this new technology, we don't know how it works, but the boat's driving around in circles.
Just on that, I know like we spoke about with John O'Ellis a couple of episodes ago about the live scope, and I put a clip up on our Instagram just telling people basically in the caption to share their thoughts on live scope. And it was quite a divisive topic. Is there any, I know with the Barra comps there's some, and Murray Cod as well, there's some comps that forbid you from using live scope. Is there anything like that coming out with game fishing? Are you hearing anything like that with Game X or heavy tackle or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. I might have heard something in the States, not banning it, but they're almost calling like Omni comps.
Yeah, okay.
So, if you've
got a lot more money over there, it's not cheap, is it? It's like over $100,000 to get it installed, isn't it?
Yeah, or about $250,000 to buy it and install it. You got to cut a big hole in your boat, and it's not a little unit. It's a big unit that hydraulically goes up and down, so it protrudes through.
Drops out of the hole.
Yeah, it drops out of the bottom of the hole. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so it's like you got R2D2 hanging off the bottom of your hull.
Yeah. So it's not technology that's accessible to your everyday fisherman whatsoever.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's no, I mean it's worth as much as half the boats were out there.
Yeah.
So but not like you said in America, there's millions of dollars, like
big prize money.
The comps are worth millions.
Pay for it in one comp.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that will filter through to if the boys that are running Omnis are the only boys winning comps, then either other people won't fish them or they'll have to get Omnis, It's like
yeah, and they're not going to go and get Omnis, are they? Because a lot of these guys are tradesmen. They're not everyday blokes.
The lads in the 24 Caribbean which ain't going to fit. Like,
yeah. Well, what you do is you just get a radar and you just spot lock the boat in front of you and just follow them around.
AIS, that's a lot cheaper. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure fair to say that Winora might have a few boats tailing them on the next comp. Yeah. The other reason I'm not too concerned that we didn't land a fish this weekend was because you did put up something on our little group chat in the lead up that you were going to bring the tattoo gun down, and if anyone got one, you have tattooed someone before in the past, eh?
Yeah. It was a little bit of a tradition there for a comp out at the Rottnest Islands. A good mate of mine, Mincho, at the time thought it would be fun to bring a tattoo gun that he had. Every time they got on the piss, they'd be tattooing each other and BB sticker symbols on his arse and whatever. And so I've always obviously like the old tattoos and don't mind drawing. Like I used to love drawing pictures and shit like that, and can sort of draw a little bit. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so we've obviously been full of piss and we've ripped the tattoo gun out after the comp's finished on the last night.
That's a good idea, right?
Yeah, and Mincho's caught his first blue marlin for the ever, and he got it in a comp out there at Rottnest. So we've gone, I'm going to tattoo a marlin on your leg, mate. That's how it is. And he's like, shit, yeah, let's do it. So, away we go. I've drawn one off on a bit of paper, and then, I don't know how I'd wet his leg. So I got it to stencil onto his leg, and then, then why I've gone so, like, I've never even picked up a tattoo gun before. So.
Trial by fire, mate.
Yeah, trial by fire, yeah. I've actually got a photo of it. I'll actually.
It looks like a magpie.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put that. I'll have to put that up on the potty. But yeah, so knock that one out, and then because I was then known as the tattoo artist. Actually, it wasn't the last night because I did two. Yeah. As in there was someone else wanted one. So I ended up doing another one on an ankle as well. That was a compass rose in the latitude and longitude of Rat Island.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, not Rat, Big Pigeon. And that actually turned out quite good.
Yeah.
Considering. So that was two. So that was that year. And the sort of the tradition followed on from there to the next year.
Yeah, I've heard this. Go ahead.
Do we want to tell that?
Go.
Yeah.
Right. This was funny. This was probably the hardest I laughed all weekend.
Yeah. So the next year we've got we're on Terra Liza. The first year was on Valcoisa, the old boat, and this year was on Terra Liza. So we've gone back to.
That's your current boat?
Yeah.
Sick.
So we've gone back to Big Pidge for the comp again, and had a fantastic, another great comp. Only a small amount of boats, but a great comp. And we've I'll put that down. And we've finished the comp, gone through presentations, and tradition was the party's on our boat again. So so off we go, back of the boat. We got the music blaring, it's pumping. We're all maggoted. And one of the young boys deckhanding on the island, crayfishing, his 19th birthday, and he was shit-faced, absolutely shit-faced. Anyway, everyone's started talking about, did you bring the tattoo gun, Whitey? Like, we'll tattoo the young fella. I can't remember his name, but we'll tattoo him. And he was up for it. He's going, yeah, I want a tattoo. And I'm going, I haven't got the gun, man. I haven't got the tattoo gun. He's going, oh, damn, I really wanted a tattoo. I said, hang on a sec, we can do a pirate tattoo if you want. He's going, yeah. Fuck yeah, what's that? And I said, well, we got to make ink first, so pirating, mate. He said, you know what that is? And he's going, no, what is it? I said, it's gunpowder and piss. so we've got to tip gunpowder into a bowl and then fucking piss in it and mix it up and that makes the ink. He's going, yeah. I've got, fuck, this is it. Stop it.
What an idiot.
He's on a roll.
You just would have thought, I got this guy hook, line and sinker.
He would have been thinking, pirate, like full sea dog.
Yeah, full sea dog. So then he's gone, oh, have you got any gunpowder? As it so happens. Yeah, so we emptied a few 22 shells and poured the powder into a bowl, and then I've just stood in front of him and pissed in it. I thought, surely he's going to pull out. At any stage, he's going to pull out. Nah, he's like just watching intently, fucking watching. So we stir it up, it goes black as fuck. I've got, it's gone the right colour. Now I need a needle. Okay, so we've got a vent right. So vent rights are used for taking the air out of demersal fish when you bring them up too fast. They blow out so you can release them. So it's essentially a 16 gauge syringe.
Yeah.
It's like
massive.
A horse needle. A horse.
He's still not pulled out.
Nah, we've ripped this thing out. It's like 3 inches long and as fat as your finger. I'm going, this is what we're going to use, mate. No, he's still in. I'm going, all right, we're doing this. So then I've gone into the cab, said, give us a sec. I've gone into the cab and I've grabbed a black art line and texted because I can't fucking tattoo this guy with this thing, but he thinks I'm gonna.
Any reasonable human would think that.
Yeah. So anyway, we've lined him up and we've twisted him over onto on the deck so he can't really see what I'm doing, and I've got his leg around the back of his leg, and I've pricked him a couple of times with this fucking syringe just so he can feel it a bit. And he said, ooh. And then I proceeded to get the art liner and start drawing, and then pricking him every now and again, and drawing, not so the ink goes in, just so he could feel it.
Yeah.
And anyway, I've drawn this pretty sick picture. I can't remember what it was now. I've drawn this pretty sick picture on the back of his leg. About 10 minutes, pretty quick tattoo.
With the texter.
With the texter. And he's leaned over, you can just see it like it's on the back of his leg. So he's twisting around, pissed as, go, fuck, that's fucking sick, man. And then we've got a roll of alfoil. So we've wrapped it up. We wrapped his whole leg from his hip to his ankle in fucking alfoil and then taped it up with gaffer tape. And said, you got to leave it on there for 3 days, mate, while it fucking heals. So he did. So that was it. He kept partying the rest of the night. He's got this fucking leg wrapped up in alfoil.
Didn't you see him like the next day?
We
2 days later?
We got reports from the boys at the island said that he left it on there until it basically fell off in 2 days. Went to work, went crayfishing the next day, pulling cray pots.
The alfoil around
Then pulled it off a couple of days later, just a smudged black fucking.
His heart would have sunk initially. Yeah.
Do you know his name?
I can't remember.
Shout out to that.
Shout out to that fella, you absolute wood duck. That is full on.
Oh, mate. Yeah.
Anyway, that was a yarn we heard on the boat, and I remember just cracking up hearing that one. But
it was a bloody pisser of a time.
Sunday we ended up pulling the pin. We had a snapped out rigger. God, the weather was pretty shit. I think we were pretty broken from the day before and the lack of sleep thanks to Dusty and Tommy. But wicked comp, ready again for next year. Make the improvements we need. Hopefully study up a little bit. Hopefully get up there with Whitey and do a little bit of training so we're actually a bit more useful on deck. But there's definitely a few people we need to thank, I reckon, Lekka. So I've made a bit of a note here because I didn't want to leave anyone out. But the first one that I want to thank is Robbo. Andrew Robinson for all his help with the equipment. He was just
legend.
So one of the rules of using the Freo Sailing Club boat is we had to have one of the committee members that were inducted with is it Master 5, Whitey?
No, I had to just give a ticket.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so they had to be a committee member and inducted to basically drive the cray boat. We had to have them on board. So Robbo was originally going to be our skipper for the weekend. He was pretty bloody pumped to be on board. I think with Whitey and backup skipper.
That's settled.
So Whitey is the skipper. He was the backup skipper. But he was pretty pumped. Super helpful. Anything that we needed, he was willing to help us with that.
He was wicked, mate. Yeah, we wouldn't have got it done without him.
Call. So shout out to Robbo, Andrew Robinson, mate. You're a bloody legend. Unfortunately, he couldn't fish because of the date change. I think he had a barra trip with a bunch of his mates planned or something like that. So you were there in spirit, Robbo. We'll have a beer with you tonight. The other one, John O'Roth. He's the rear commodore of the club. Mark Rich, treasurer. Brian Arnett, he's the weighmaster. Phil Volich. What's Phil's role? You remember?
No, you don't throw those questions at me.
Another committee member anyway.
Just a good bloke.
And then last but definitely not least was Ozzy and the crew from Sovereign Hydroseal, which were the naming rights sponsor for the event. Those guys really put it on for us, and anything that we needed, they were super helpful. So thanks to everybody at the Freo Sailing Club and everybody that was involved, all the sponsors that made the event happen.
Probably should mention Mitch as well, who ended up jumping on as the backup skipper. He's from what's his business?
Fremantle Shipwrights.
Yeah, Fremantle Shipwrights, mate. He's a bloody legend.
Yeah, he was good company.
Yep, really good.
Awesome. So, yeah, that's a wrap for the Sovereign Blue Marlin Classic 2026, the biggest game fishing competition in West Australia's history with 90 boats. Pretty impressive, man.
Bloody oath, mate. It was wicked. And I'm looking forward to, like we said, the awards night tonight. But one thing we also do on this podcast, while we move on from the Blue Marlin Classic, Whitey, is we always throw out some listener questions. So we got the Daiwa listener questions.
Yep.
Mate,
Right.
we at Rothy, this has been probably the biggest response we've had.
It gets bigger every week, but it's actually got to a point where I need to think of a more intelligent way for the people to submit these questions. So at the top, when we press record, I did a quick count of how many questions that we had. 130 questions submitted, and I only posted this last night. So I didn't even give it a full 24 hours to.
So we're going to ask you 130 questions right now.
Before we get into it, so with these 130 questions, guys, listeners, so it's now more important than ever that you ask good questions because we just filter through them. If they're no good, we get to them, and we got some absolute bangers for this one. So you can take it away first. But before that, what's up for grabs this week? So we just got a fresh box from the legends at Daiwa. They have seriously hooked us up and hooked you guys up more than anything because you're going to be on the receiving end of these prizes. So in my hands here, I've got the 25 TD Soul 4000 CXH. So beautiful little reel. This is something that I'd use in the Perth metro area. 4000 size reel is probably the one that I use the most, Lecker, but anything from Taylor, Mulloway in the river. You could even use this for dollies out wide. Whitey even said you'd use this for bloody sails in the up at Exie.
Oh, absolutely. I was having your eyes on that.
Yeah.
Watch it's not on the table when we leave.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bloody smooth reel. So I think these are like a mid-range reel, but you wouldn't even tell the difference. They're amazing. So let's get into it. Thanks to Daiwa for hooking us up.
Yeah, 100%. Let's rip into these questions. So I got a couple. Rothy's got a few. This is my first one that caught my eye. I thought it was an absolute belter of a question. Riley Hinchcliffe, why does Rothy look like he's always about to go to the skate park?
Because I'm a skateboarder, you muppet.
I could love that question because he's always giving a shit about music on the boat and fucking where's his skate shoes. And I'm like, mate, we're going fishing. We're not going fucking skating, all right?
God.
So
I bet you that guy wears fucking fishing shirts with a big barra on the front or something
legend,
like that.
mate, legend. He is. So, no, I'm going to get straight into the one that I sort of was from J95. Ask him if he's got another yarn about his adventures with Ivan. That bloke was a legend.
Oh, God, I've got plenty.
So a bit of context there. Ivan was one of Whitey's best mates that he went to Costa Rica with. Bit of a legend.
Everyone knew him.
Yeah.
Absolute champion. So we did our first comp ever together at Rottnest. So that was a bit of a legend effort. We drove the boat from Jurien to Rottnest. We had a couch on the boat that time as well. And that comp we caught a Sergeant Baker, a squid and a gurnard.
What comp was it?
It was like the PGFC Marlin Classic.
Oh, the Marlin Cup. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we trolled around the first day chasing a marlin and then realised there weren't any marlin here that year. And then tried bottom fishing up here, down here, and got nothing as well.
Had no luck.
No luck as well. But what, oh my God, I'd have to.
What's your favourite story? Outside of the Costa Rica story, have you got a favourite one you could share? Otherwise,
thinking of some. I might have to get onto this fella one day and have a chat with him over a beer and do some R-rated talks. But G-rated. There was nothing G-rated about Ivan.
Everyone knew him as well. He was. You bump into people and they bring his name up and that. And unfortunately, he passed away. He passed away in a motorbike right now.
Racing
on a motorbike, eh?
Yeah, racing the Australian Safari,
was he close to qualifying for the Dakar or something? Or what was he?
No, I don't think Dakar had ever. He was going to do one in Cabo.
Yeah.
That was his dream to do one in Cabo anyway before he passed away.
Yeah.
But he did Fink and Australian Safari.
Yeah. I wasn't really aware of Ivan until you spoke of him, but I guess after that episode came out, it was pretty evident that he had quite a bit of impact on a lot of people. We got a lot of messages from people saying, "Oh, Ivan, bloody legend." I think his nephew messaged us and said it was cool to hear his name, and he didn't expect to hear Ivan's name come up.
Yeah. So he bought his original boat was a leader Tomcat.
Yep.
That we fished right when we launched at Guildford one day and drove from Guildford all the way down the river and then across to Rotto. Yeah, and then did the comp at Rotto and drove all the way back. And we won that year. We won in his leader Tomcat, which was pretty good. Didn't catch him marlin, but won this comp on species.
Yeah.
That was a wild time. And then he ended up buying a Carbo called Exotica, which was a cherry red express with a game tower.
You compared that to Chris Taney's boat, the Pirate, didn't you?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, to looking like a Lures or the Pirate, Chris Taney's boat. Yeah, very almost identical to that style boat. Yeah, and we drove that from Perth up to Exmouth and fish comps in up there, and I mean, yeah, those trips in themselves had 100 stories inside them.
So, and he was his real passion was game fishing, was it?
Well, motorbike racing. Yeah, so he was a grano worker, and fishing was, like it is for a lot of people, was his escape from reality, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's so I didn't really get involved in a lot of his racing side of things. I went to a couple of races. But yeah, he's our relationship was fishing.
Yeah. You got a question, Rothy?
Yeah, I got a few here. So we had so many good questions for this one, so it was really hard to pick. But one that stood out to me first up was based off, I guess, chasing bills and what we've been doing this last weekend, was what 1%ers from each crew member make all the difference when chasing bills. Obviously, we weren't much help, but you're going in a Game X, Whitey, coming up. You've got a pretty tuned in team.
Yep, absolutely.
So what 1%ers from each crew member make all the difference when chasing bills? That was from Carlos Bastido.
Yeah, number one thing is sharp hooks. So make sure every hook that goes out is sharper than when you bought it, and check every single crimp and knot and clip to make sure that everything is 100% how it should be. There's nothing worse than throwing something out and crimp pulls or just rookie mistakes like that.
Yeah, that's avoidable.
Yep. And then the 1%ers they are the 1%ers. Yep. Check and double check every lure that goes out. You check it before you drop it in the water.
Every crew member has a role.
Yep. Awesome. Every crew member has a role. Knows their role. If they don't, then they taught it. And then
it's a team sport, game fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who winds it in or whatever.
It doesn't. You're exactly right. Like it's not. It's the guy on the rod's got a role, and everybody else has got a role as well.
Yeah.
Right up to the moment, it's captured or tagged. Everyone's got a role. And you play it out right, and it works.
In saying that, I was going to win the fish.
A lot of lads actually said to me, like the boys like Pex from Send and Ban, Mick Parker, boys that have done a bit of game fish, Brett Skip, they said to me, you don't even really want to be on the rod. Like if you hook a big fish, like it is grueling. You want to do it once and then everybody wants to be on the leader. That was the thing they said. That's the most exciting part.
It's pretty exciting being on it. And you've only got like a couple of seconds of pain.
Yeah. All right, I've got one here. Bradley Carey, chasing blue marlin with or against the current or 90 degrees to it in and out. Like, I'm guessing he's talking about trolling.
Oh, yep. Generally, across the current.
Across the current.
Yep, generally, yep. So if the current's coming down from the north, then you want to be heading east-west.
Okay.
On your troll. So theoretically, the fish are coming, swimming with the current.
Oh, so it gives you as much time going up
cross paths at some point.
Yeah, interception.
Yeah.
Rather than.
Yeah, so if you're going with the current.
You drive away from them.
Yeah. Well, if they're not where you are, they're swimming alongside you or behind you at the same pace. You're not going to cross paths.
And same thing, if you're going into it, then they're going to have to turn around and chase you.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, that makes sense.
You will get them, doing those other things on turns or if you're going to other spots and things like that. But generally speaking, you want to be cross current.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Same for tuna and that?
Well, tuna, you try and get in front of tuna. Like you normally see tuna. It's not so as random as
they're working bait up on the surface with birds and that,
Yeah. So I think tuna, especially when the sun's low, there's which side of the school got me thinking now. So you don't want to be sun side of the school.
Okay.
Of tuna.
Gotcha. Is that because of a silhouette or?
Well, they got to look into the sun.
Yeah, okay. They got big eyes, don't they?
Yeah, so you want to be the other side so the sun's lighting up your lure.
Oh, so mate, so it's funny how much you say this because hunting has a big effect with the sun as well when you're walking. I've noticed a little bit of hunting and late afternoon I've got some blocks or whatever that I'll walk into and if the sun's behind you, it's the biggest advantage because
they can't see you.
Animals can't see you walking in because they got the sun. So same thing it would be with your lures going there.
100%.
Yeah.
Hunting is lure fishing.
Exactly. Yeah. And same thing, if you've got the sun on your face, you stand out like dog's balls.
Yep.
That's I never thought about that with tuna.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got two here. So Kane Corsini, when are the lads allowed to do a rod cast on board Evolution?
whenever they like.
Anytime. We've been talking about that a bit.
Live aboard with the fish trap off the back, mate. That's the go. Yeah.
So I had that Ivan question as well. Kelly Mulvey, what's one fishing pattern that took you years to notice, but now you rely on all the time?
One fishing pattern.
So maybe a weather pattern or the way a fish moves or something like that. Now you swear by it.
Bite times would have to be the one. Yeah, the almanacs available now that give you tides and bite times. Number one without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, we go every day and we have to go. Well, don't have to. So we go every day because that's our job. And a lot of people can't go by almanacs because they only get the weekend off or they're on holidays and things like that. But still, throughout that period, there's going to be a time during the day that the fish are going to be biting better than other times.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you're fishing those times, not travelling those times. That's the biggest key.
Gotcha.
First noticed it camping at Warra and, started looking at almanacs and things like that. And I said a bite time was coming up at 2:00 or whatever. And, I'd be down the beach at 7:00 in the morning, casting lures, trying 100 lures in the box, throwing every one in the water, not getting a bite, not seeing a fish. And then 2:00, bang, hook a fish, snap that lure off, grab another one out of the box, cast that, get a fish. Every lure you chucked out got hit for 20 minutes, half an hour. Yeah.
Yep.
And then nothing again. You're going, what the hell's going on here? And walked up the sand dunes and got some reception and had a look at the almanac and went,
There you go. Yeah, they just needed something to flick the switch.
Yep.
All right, I got a good one here. Lurcher23. This is probably relevant for where you live at the moment, Whitey, with what's happening down here. With the influx of anglers, do you have any advice for visitors to prevent locals getting upset? So there's obviously a lot of people probably going to be travelling up around that Exmouth area.
Yep.
There's a bit of etiquette up there, isn't there? It's a bit different. I know the boat ramp etiquette's
there's
different.
I guess boat ramp etiquette's number one. It's car order, not boat order.
Yep.
You could have this fight with many people, but that's the Exmouth way. It's car order, not boat order.
Yep.
Don't go and bomb someone out. Don't deliberately follow someone around or go and, drop on top of them if they're fishing. Like, don't do the old head towards them, do a circle around them and bugger off and mark their spot. If you do, just don't make it obvious. But just
you get found out in a small town
it's
like that.
Pretty basic,
quick.
really. Eh?
It is. Just don't do.
The
old saying.
Yeah.
The old saying, don't do to people what you wouldn't like doing to yourself or whatever it is. But
And the other thing I would mention, I reckon, is a good one, is just go and talk to the locals as well. So, tell them what your plans are. Yeah, go go to the tackle shop, do whatever, get a reader. If you want to know where the fish are biting, go and talk to someone first rather than just going out and bombing
Respect goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. If you see me and you're heading up there, or send us a message on Facebook or whatever, I'm open to helping people out. So.
Careful what you wish for. A few people listen to this.
Well,
it'll cost.
At the same time, it'll cost you cutting a piece. But at the same time, locals have got to get used to it as well.
Absolutely. It's a tourist town and, it's not going to bother people that much.
It doesn't really thrive, does it?
All right, I got another one here from Keisty. Biggest tips for targeting a Metro Mac, finding bait in current pushed up but zero fish.
Yeah, it's sort of, I think it's areas, once again, you need to sort of talk to guys that know the areas. I think, West End might be an area. Like I'm not big on knowing where Metro Macs are.
Yep.
But the one thing I will say is if you get a mackerel in the Metro area, mark that exact spot, the exact spot you got that fish, and go back over it. Figure of eights, go back over, keep going to that spot, go to that same spot the next day. They're a creature of habit. They're in the same spot.
Yep.
Don't think it's random when you get a mackerel. It's not.
They'll
wow.
That's where they are.
Yep.
That's where they are. Yep. That's the biggest tip. Any mackerel fishing up and down the coast, wherever you get one.
I never would have picked that being a pelagic fish. You would think they'd be like, you see some of these marlin and even the tiger sharks that PGFC have got, tagged and how far they travel. I would have thought mackerel would be somewhat the same, but that's really interesting.
Maybe it's where the bait's always holding. Though. That's
exactly.
The thing.
There's an edge there that the habitat they like and the bait they like, and
they're patrolling it.
Yep.
Wow. That was a great question.
Go early too as well, hey? Early in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like sunrise.
Yep.
Once that sun's up in the Metro, that's it. She's pretty much all over.
Yep. Get out there in the dark.
Yeah, and the other thing is just prior to the sun coming up, a stick bait out long down the middle of your spread and your lures up high in the water column. So shallow divers, like 1 metre divers, prior to the sun coming up, I'm talking twilight. So, and then as soon as the sun hits, you can go to your 3 metre divers. And then as the sun comes up the next hour, then you want to get down to your deep divers.
Yeah, you're filtering out that light through the water column.
Yeah.
That tip that you just gave then has got me. You gave me that same tip years ago. It was run your 2 divers and then throw a stick bait way out the back.
Yep.
That's caught me a lot of fish.
Yep.
Yeah, that's caught me a lot. Yeah, just
skipping along the surface.
It doesn't even look right. It's not even swimming. It's tumbling, doing shit that it shouldn't do. And
I've caught
actually,
so many
I remember
mackerel.
you saying this after we stopped recording the first podcast that we did.
Yeah.
You'll get them
That's
launching
a
out of the
banger.
water. Even up at Exmouth, that worked. I've seen them they hit the fucking knock it out of the water.
Yeah.
And I reckon I've had just as many hits on the stick bait as anything.
Absolutely.
Probably looks like a bit of a flying fish or something like that.
Gardy or something splashing around the top.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Great tip. You got any more?
Yeah, I got one here from Bear Grylls, the Bear Grill reference there. Where did the passion start for you, Whitey, and what's kept the motivation so strong to now move into the business of fishing?
I was born with gills and salt water in my veins. It's as simple as that. My old man, so we lived on a farm, only probably 11 mile from the coast, but it was about 40 mile to get there. It was a real treat to go to the coast. My dad used to every now and again go tailor fishing, and I think it was an excuse to just go cool down a bit out the coast and have a bit of a fish, drink some tins and catch some tailor. So it pretty much started with tailor fishing. Herring fishing with my old man in the boat, all the bread and butter sort of fish. And then we had a holiday house in Greenhead, and I'd be just down Dynamite Bay, place like that, with 6 foot of 200-pound fish line and a hook and a bit of ockie on the end, trying to rip wobbegongs out of the reef and, spearing ockies and doing all that sort of stuff. And it just snowballed. And then, went inland to high school. And then as soon as I can, I just had to get back to the coast and, started deckhanding on a crowboat.
That just goes to show you got a bit of prestige about your name now, Whitey. I know you're not going to like hearing that, but like these young lads that are doing that sort of thing, that's what you can, if you keep at it and you keep trying, you can take fishing as long as you want to, as far as you want to go.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Got any more before we
there is a couple of other bangers. So one more that really stood out. Lewis Workman 07. Best advice for a younger crew looking to get into game fishing? That question I think is very relevant to this weekend. We had a lot of young boys having a crack, a lot of podcast listeners too. That's probably another shout out I should give, is the amount of potty listeners that had a crack at game fishing for their very first time too. Yep. So best advice for a younger crew looking to get into game fishing from Lewis Workman. Get
on a proper game fishing charter boat. Even if you can somehow afford get out for a day or something like that on a charter boat that's specifically bill fishing, you'll learn so much.
Yep.
That's how you fast track.
Yep.
You can, you keep reading and watching YouTube stuff and all that sort of stuff's mint, but nothing like hands-on. But getting involved is the way, without a doubt. If you can get to somewhere like Exmouth where it's going to happen, then
even better.
Come out with Whitey.
That is a great tip, because I learned so much on the weekend. We didn't even hook a fish, but for everything from outriggers to trawl speed to, all that sort of stuff.
The spread. What blew my mind was how close you had that bloody big ego buster. Like literally that was 5 meters off the transom.
Yeah.
I was frothing when I saw that too. The photographer in me was just like, if that lure gets bit, I'm going to have a hell time.
You wouldn't believe how often they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to pick a winner or?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So, Whitey, we usually throw it to the guest to pick the question that tickled their fancy the most. Was there any that sort of stood out to you?
I did like the hunting one. The one
that came from the tuna that gave that answer.
Yeah, which way to troll.
Yeah, that was from you.
Yeah, so that was, hold up, I got him here. Hold up. I went out of my page here, so I've got it. Chasing Blue Marlin, with or against the current. That was Bradley Carey. So cracking question.
What was the question again?
Yeah, chasing Blue Marlin with and against the current, or 90 degrees to it, in and out. So,
right. Wicked.
Yep.
Bradley Carey, Brad will get you this TD Soul in the mail, mate. We'll be in touch, but you have just won yourself an epic little reel thanks to Daiwa Australia. I'm pretty jealous. I think we all are. So shout out to the guys at Daiwa. Shout out to Brad for a good question. Shout out to everybody that submitted a good question. You guys are the reason we do this podcast, and we couldn't do it without you. So we appreciate you. getting involved. Epic.
Key to that, you got the guests thinking. Got a good answer out of that. So
that's the whole key. If you can get the guests thinking and get a good answer, that's what's going to win you a sick little prize pack from Daiwa. So
wicked. Well, Rothy, I'll tell you what, this has been a bit of a different pace. We probably asked more listener questions than usual because we have had Whitey in here before. We've heard his story. We're definitely keen to get up and fish with him again, but we don't have the quick fire because we've already done it. But I want to ask you, yeah, he's happy about that. Whitey, we started with the last fish you caught. What's the next fish you're going to catch, mate? What are you going for?
Going for black marlin, and it is next.
Yep.
So next Sunday I'll have 7 or 8 on the boat.
Yeah, that's all
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So going for the win at GameX.
Absolutely.
Who's on your crew this year?
I got Reece Clatworthy, Trent Gregory, Bailey Webb, and Jack White and myself.
Jacko, you're going to have to work on your talking skills there, mate. We didn't have much of them yet. We didn't throw you much, but mate, it's wicked to have you here and we're looking forward to hanging out tonight.
What's your role on the boat coming up for GameX?
I'll be leader in the fish.
Nice.
Best role.
I did say that to you before you came down here that you were going to be the man on the leader. Were you doing any practice?
Pretty keen for that.
Tying line to the bloody tree and fucking hanging on it.
Line tied up in my room.
He had a black on the other day. It went ape shit.
How are you finding it?
Yeah, really good fun.
Yeah. What have you learned? Have you had any good fuck ups that you've taken some learnings from on the boat? We all have them, mate. So go on.
I think I've had too many fuck ups, to be honest.
No.
I reckon I've done all right.
Nice.
Yeah, he's going well. Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
But like you said, salt water in the blood.
He was like he said, he had leader tied up in his room to leader a big blue the right way because there's a way.
Oh, you actually did?
Yep. Yeah.
I was taking the piss. That's amazing.
No. Yeah.
You don't want to get wrapped up in it.
No. So what is the right way? Is there there's obviously a wrong way and a right way.
So you wrap it up in your hands with the back of your hand. So then if you need to let go, you can go.
Yeah, okay.
And so it doesn't slide out of your hand as well.
Like a hand line, so it kind of comes off your hand all smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple wraps, then grab it.
So you're going underside, like wax off.
Yep.
Mr. Miyagi, wax off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. Handy tip.
Yep.
Can't be losing a finger.
No.
There
Mate,
you go.
I'll give you a tip. It's bloody get up in that chair or that skipper's chair as quick as you can and get the old man out of there. That's the best spot on the boat.
Oh, you'll be chartering your old boy. I think that kind of wraps it up, Leka. We got anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, mate, just let's get out there. We'll go to the awards night tonight. Have a good night. Shout out to the Sovereign Blue Marlin Classic. What an event.
Yeah, and even more of a shout out, you boys.
Yeah,
Craig and Jack, legends. You bloody legends. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you lads. We literally can't sing your praise enough. Thanks so much for coming out. And,
thank you very much.
Skipper in the boat for us.
Anytime. Okay, let's do it.
Awesome, lads.
Cheers, boys.
Tall tales. Let's go.
Yo.